my name's Michael Price. I'm a sales recruiter. I do loads of work in the Microsoft market, placing salespeople in FSCM and BC and with some of the ISVs. The FSCM market is one I know particularly well. And I use these words carefully, but I will stand by them. I think this is the next big deal in the Microsoft market. I place one of the best sellers I've ever come across in the Microsoft market here, and he's now recruiting for 2 roles. So they're a smallish partner who won a massive deal. And like, I don't sell ERP software for Microsoft or a Microsoft partner, but when you look at it realistically, you think they must have had something special to sell that deal, particularly when you consider who the competition is in that market and the competition size and experience versus this company. And they hired one of the very best in the market. Got to be one of the top 5 FSCM sellers I've literally ever come across. And at that moment in time, must have been one of the top performers in the UK. And what he's doing is using the cash flow from this big deal that the company won, which was spread over a few years, to then build a business. And in a relatively short space of time, he's worked there for about a year, they really are building a business. And one of my other clients said, "Mike, have you ever heard of company XYZ?" And I said, "Yeah, I placed the guy there that runs that business." And he went, "I've no idea how they've got the profile in the Microsoft market in such a short space of time." Now, partially it was because of the guy that I placed here, who's a very good guy. But then sometimes all the other bits come together at the right time and you're in the right place at the right time. They sell Microsoft FSCM, some people call it F&O, but it's Microsoft's tier 1 ERP product. And I really think working within this business will change someone's career. This is going to be one of those roles that somebody is going to look back on in 5 years' time and say, "Yeah, I was part of that." And they're going to put that on their CV and on LinkedIn, and it's going to be a standout moment in their career. There are 2 roles here. They're both new business, very well supported. In the words of my client, I don't want salespeople to generate their own leads, but it is their target, Mike. And I completely agree with him. I think it's very unlikely that you'll be sat at your desk hard prospecting, but at the end of the day, it is your target. And they're really aiming for £1 million plus deals. Of course, they sell some stuff that's a little bit lower, particularly to an existing Microsoft partner base, but really they're going after the £1 million plus deals. The roles really, I've segregated them into junior and senior. There's no real difference actually, other than the target is slightly different. The package, the basic is obviously different, but then so is the expectation of what my client's looking for in terms of the background. But broadly speaking, it's 2.5 million or £3.5 million target. There's no cap. The client has been through the comp plan with me in detail, and it is excellent. It's absolutely a comp plan written by a salesperson. So what they're looking for, ideally, it would be somebody that knows Microsoft FSCM. If it's not that, Microsoft ERP, and then he may just look at ERP salespeople. You know, I placed this guy 5 years ago, and he laughs about it now, but he didn't really understand what Microsoft ERP was. It was just a very solid new business salesperson selling an ERP product. And he's very honest about it. He said, "You know what, Mike, if I look back at myself then, that's the kind of thing I'd probably hire if I saw somebody like that. He was new business, stable track record, sold ERP in a very saturated market." But of course, that reflects on the package they're willing to offer. He wants somebody who's a new business salesperson, and as much as anything else, he wants somebody who is accountable for their actions. And he and I have had this discussion many times over many years, which is, Mike, salespeople miss targets. That happens. He said, "I don't want them to miss the target. I want them to hit the target, and they want to hit the target. But at some point, as long as they're accountable for their actions, and I'm accountable for my responsibilities to them, we will ultimately succeed in the long term." Perfectly open in terms of vertical. They have a slight focus on manufacturing, distribution, and service industry. Not public sector, but he's perfectly open in terms of the vertical to which you sold. Package will be 80k basic or 160k OTE, or 100k basic or 200k OTE. It's worth noting though, if you have an 80k basic and you go out and sell £3.5 million and hit that £3.5 million target, you will earn 200k. And I think really this is going to be a big journey. It's all the candidates quite often want I want a startup that's not funded by a VC, where they've got sensible cash flow, where there's a journey, where the sales leadership is good. That's exactly what this role is. My contact details are on the screen. Also, the email of my colleague Jo. It's unlikely you'll speak to her, but I have included her email address anyway. Thank you. I'll hopefully speak to you soon.